Hi there, this is Paige, who is Stamp Girl here on YouTube, and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm sharing with you the projects I made for the Use It Up 2020 challenge. This is hosted by Beth, who is Bourbon Creek Crafts. And for this month I decided to pull out a 12 by 12 designer series paper collection from Stampin' Up! Called Painted Autumn. It's a collection, I think, from last year, if not the year before. I bought it. I love fall, loved the paper, kind of petted it and put it back and never used it. And so I was determined to use up that entire collection of paper. It took me 6 days to do it, working off and on all day for 6 days. But I did finish it, and as a result I got 70 cards out of that paper collection. So I'd like to share with you the cards that I made. Now, along with the paper collection, I just pulled out bits and pieces of other supplies from my stash. So I had these really cute acorns on a mesh sheet. It was a larger sheet from Dollar Tree. I used some Dazzle line stickers. I think these were actually from Love from Lizzie, is that what it's called? And then just some miscellaneous sentiments whenever I use them. So this one happened to be more of a scrap from one of the papers. And then just some layering on the inside. Here's another card. I used some little bits and pieces that I stamped using Forever Greenery, and then a little sprig punch from Stampin' Up! And I just went over the little, I don't know if they're berries or leaflets, but I went over that with Wink of Stella. Layered a circle. These pieces are popped up. These are tucked under this Stampin' Up! Ribbon, as are these. And then a simple inside. For these two cards, I did a sunburst effect with a couple of the different patterns, and I just used the little borderline stickers from Love from Lizzie in between each section, and at the top and the bottom. And then I had some wooden elements in my stash that I purchased one time from a Tuesday morning, and then a linen bow. And because I have so many cards, I think I'll stop showing the insides. But here is one done in two different patterns. These are some glittered wooden pumpkins that I purchased at Target. Was it last year or the year before? I don't know. I buy stuff and I kind of hang on to it and don't use it right away. These next cards feature a sticker collection that I bought on clearance, and it was either at Michael's or could have been Tuesday Morning, could have been Hobby Lobby. I don't remember, but they were gem stickers. You'll see some of them are quite large. I think the packaging showed it being used to decorate pumpkins, but I used it on these cards. So I've got this one. This one's popped up. It says, "May this season bring you smiles and love that will last all year." And here's another one that's just like it, and another one just like it, because there were 3 of these in the package. The package also contained this large leaf, and so I used that on a card by itself. I took some Fun Stampers Journey silk in, is it called French Roast? Something like that, and just splattered some dark brown splatters on the card. And then this was another one that was in the package, and I thought it went nicely with this background paper from the collection. I did a couple of cards with a similar layout to this. This is one of Stampin' Up's, I believe this one was Silver Snowflakes that they sold a couple of years ago, and what I did is I just went over it with my mind is going blank, with some Versamark ink, and then I sprinkled copper embossing powder on it and heated up to melt it so that the coppery color would look better with the paper collection. This is some copper trim from Stampin' Up!, my absolute favorite. And then this one, I embossed a panel on this side and then put a strip over on this side, and then I popped up this Designer Series paper. I thought the pumpkins were so pretty, and they just kind of spoke to themselves, and some more of that copper trim. Here is another group of cards. They're basically all the same. I used two different square dies. One was a stitch die, and I die cut them together to make this little frame, and then I die cut another piece of cardstock with a stitched square and angled it inside the frame, and then fussy cut some pumpkins from the pattern paper. This is some burlap ribbon from my stash, and I just, the two sides were frayed, so when I cut it off I just frayed the ends as well. And again, I used that Fun Stampers Journey dark roast silk to sprinkle on there. So I have several of those cards. For these, I use the same color layer as the card base, so there's an extra layer of cardstock on here that I ran through an embossing folder. It was some wildflowers. I thought it went nicely with this print of the designer paper. These were cut out with the nested labels dies from Stampin' Up!, and then I just chopped them off over on the edge. I used some of my favorite trim. I stamped hello with Versamark and embossed it with copper embossing powder. So I've got a couple of those. And then I did a couple in a brown version. And then I did a couple very similar in a pattern paper version, and for this one I took the pattern paper and the nested label die and cut it out of the pattern paper, and it leaves behind a stitched edge. And then I cut another smaller nested label and chopped it off at the end and popped it up with dimensionals. This is a embellishment from Stampin' Up!, and this is some glittered twine that I think was from, well, it's from Stampin' Up!, but I can't remember if it was from last year's celebration or something. I don't know. I had some in my stash, so I used it. And then they all say, lucky to have a friend like you. And for this one, on the Cajun Craze, I used Early Espresso ink, and on the Early Espresso cards, I used Cajun Craze ink. For these cards, I used a sketch from Dawn, who is Dawn Stamping Thoughts. She said that this sketch was designed by her husband, and I altered it just a little bit, but I kept the basic sketch the same. So this piece is popped up, and this piece is popped up, and then I just embellished with the vellum leaf that I had in my stash, and the packaging came with some little rhinestones, so I thought I'd put one of those on. But what's fun and unique about this sketch that her husband designed is you put foam tape along the two long sides and the top, and then it forms a little track for a little message to pull out. So this one says, to a friend that makes me smile. And then it just slides back in. So I made 3 of those. This one was some acorn stickers I had in my stash, and then another vellum leaf from the same package with the rhinestone. For these cards, again, they're all basically the same. I used 2 different patterns of the designer paper. This was a die from Tonic Studios, and so I die cut it from 2 different colors and just inlaid the little pieces that popped out, and then they're glued near the top, and popped up with a dimensional down here for the leaf, and then the acorn is popped up completely. And then I had some twine that was kind of the color of Cajun Craze, and so I just took 3 strands together and tied them in a bow. And then this is some Stampin' Up! Crinkled seam binding, I think, and crushed curry. So I've got 3 cards going horizontally, and then I did 2 cards going vertical. So I like how those turned out. This next group, I believe I have 10 of these. I can't remember whose video I was watching. It was a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and they used vellum over the top layer of designer series paper, and theirs was a completely different theme and paper collection, and I liked that idea, so I thought I'd try it with this paper collection. So I just have a scallop circle die, a plain circle. It says, "Your kindness means so much more than you will ever know." Fussy cut some pumpkins. This one is popped up. And then some jute twine for a bow. And then the vellum over the DSP. And this is only adhered under the cluster in the center. So I've got a couple like that. And then a couple in this print right here. This one uses some narrower jute twine. And then I had these little felt sunflowers in my stash, and I used the leaf punch from Stampin' Up! To punch out some leaves to embellish that. And then some more sunflowers just with a different pattern paper in the background. I really like how these turned out too. Okay, for this card, I used 2 different colors of cardstock on the front. I ran them through the embossing folder. This was like a big plaid check. And then I had this burlap trim in my stash, and then a strip of pattern paper. I had these leaves, I think I bought them from Dollar Tree. They're wooden leaves, and they're covered with burlap, and they came with a little jute string on it, and I just took it and tied it into a bow. This one needs a sentiment or something. It still needs something over here, so I'm calling that one not finished. But here's something similar in design where I used a border embossing folder and then a felt leaf from my stash, and then I had these little acorn stickers in my stash. They're not wood. They feel more like molded plastic, but they went nicely with the pattern paper. So I've got a couple of those, different kinds of leaves, different colors. And then something similar but not quite the same is this card right here. So I had this little cameo, if you will, and I had a little sticker that I placed right inside. I used a couple different trims from Stampin' Up! And then I used more of the copper trim for a bow and some linen thread for a bow. And we'll just kind of move those like that. These 2 cards are similar. I just, I don't know, I've never had trouble with my adhesive before, and this summer, my adhesive is pulling up on some previously made cards. I'll have to go back with some glue instead, I guess. So some scraps of the pattern paper, and then I had these puffy, glittery pumpkin stickers in my stash, and then some enamel dots. It just says, just a little note down at the bottom. This is similar in design, but I used a felt leaf. Oh, this is bugging me. And then an acorn, and then this was an acorn brad, but what I actually did is I cut off the little arms of the brad, or the prongs of the brad, and just put it on flat. And then another pumpkin, and a felt leaf from my stash. And then these are very similar but done in green, so these could be for fall, early fall, or summer or spring. And again, these were breads, and I just pulled off the prongs and attached them flat. So I used up a lot of stash making these cards, and that was fun as well. Here we got a couple of fun fold cards. Again, this one's not quite complete. I need a sentiment or something. But it opens up like this. And then you can write on the back. And then something should go here as well. Just kind of ran out of ideas for that one. And then this one is very similar. This was a pumpkin pick I believe I got at Hobby Lobby. Just added a multi-looped linen thread bow to the stem. So that was fun. Some more fun fold cards are these right here. And I have to remember how these open up. I think I had this one going this way. And then a panel on the back to write a message. And then this one. And it could go this way as well. I guess it doesn't really matter. And then this one. I liked this fun fold because it uses a lot of designer series paper, so you get to see a lot of it in one card. Here's a couple more fun folds that I have. I had some layered felt sunflowers in my stash, and originally when I was doing the challenge this month, I was going to focus on sunflowers, and when I pulled out this paper, you know, some of those prints have sunflowers, I fell in love with this paper all over again and changed my mind to do the whole paper collection rather than just focus on sunflowers. But that's how that came about. So a little fun fold card here. And then if you want, you can write your message on the back. But this will, well, not on this pile, but it will stand and display itself on a tabletop. And then I have this one right here, and this is a die cut from the Forever Greenery Suite. I thought it went well with this background paper. So again, like that, and then the panel on the back to write your message. We're almost done. Okay, then I've got these cards right here. I stamped and then used the punch from Stampin' Up, the leaf punch. So this came from, was it Painted Garden stamp set? Anyway, some of that fun trim from Stampin' Up. I've got 3 rolls of this. I love it. And then some more of that twine. And then this one opens up like this. So I like that card design too. And then here's one where I did a leaf and I splattered with the Fun Stamper's Journey Dark Roast Silk. And opens up like that. And then the last one like this. I guess it goes this way, sorry. And then, let's see, we are down to one more fun fold and then the end of the cards. So this was a fun fold card, and then this was another vellum leaf that I had in my stash. Thought it went nicely with that pattern paper. And then I have a series of cards here that aren't quite finished. They need a sentiment. So for this one, I just followed the colors in the pattern paper, put a felt leaf on here, and it needs some kind of a sentiment. This one, I was going to put the leaf at the bottom facing up, and I had my card upside down. Didn't realize it until it was too late. So that leaf is at the top. And for both of these, I used an embossing folder on one side of the front panel. Same with these. I embossed part of the front panel and then layered cardstock and designer paper on the other side. So this one needs a sentiment, as does this one, and as do these two. So those were my 70 cards from one paper collection from Stampin' Up! Painted Autumn, I believe it was called. I hope you stuck with me. Those of you that did, I really appreciate it. I hope you liked what you saw, got some ideas. I want to thank you for joining me, and now I'm off to create.